Well, welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Tanner O'Brien. I'm a senior partner here at Action Coach in Central Texas, and I'm sitting down with Eric Boyce today, who is the president and CEO of both Boyce and Associates Wealth Consulting and Boyce and Associates Business Valuations. We're going to be talking about a bunch of stuff when it comes to just the journey through entrepreneurship and building business, to lessons learned, to I don't know, a whole bunch of fun stuff when it comes to business in general and what it takes to be an entrepreneur these days. So Eric, I just want to first off say thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with me, and excited to jump into the conversation. Why don't we just start with just a little bit of background? If you would give us kind of the just 10,000 foot view of kind of who you are, what your background is, and then tell us about your businesses.
Yeah, well, thank you, Tanner. Well, it's really good to be with you, and thanks for taking the time to learn more about me. Honestly, I had kind of a simple, straightforward upbringing. Grew up in Dallas. I wasn't going to get into finance. Honestly, I was going to get into journalism. And my father died at a very early age, and my mother didn't really have any sense of what the finances were. So that turned out to be my why, and I didn't really realize it at the time. And so I very quickly kind of switched gears in college and moving from journalism, and I still love to write, but I just felt a calling to get into the financial side of things, and finance, accounting, and so on and so forth. And that was really the beginnings. And so I did that. I was in treasury management. I was in short-term investments, and then ever since then went to grad school, and then got into kind of portfolio management and investment research, and I've been there ever since.
That's really cool. I'm always curious. I love the industry that you're in. Was an area that I don't know that many people know this. I almost went that direction. Actually, got into banking for that reason, to be kind of in call it wealth consulting or financial advising, or kind of whatever path you want to kind of take there. Got into banking and then ended up not going in that particular direction. So it's a industry that's kind of near and dear to my heart, because I've always enjoyed it for much of the same reasons it sounds like you got into it.
Mm.
But in your journey before kind of starting your own business and things like that, and kind of doing some of the other areas, what were some of did you work for like larger institutions? Was it always kind of smaller, investment firms? Kind of what did that look like? What did that journey look like for you between, getting into the industry to where you're at today?
Well, now that's a great question. So I actually started off in the investment business at a very large institution. It was NC&B before it became Nations Bank, which eventually became Bank of America. So it was already a big institution at that point, and that was kind of my first foray into the financial side of things, and worked for a large industrial real estate brokerage firm. And then after that, I had lots of opportunities to work for smaller firms, and I really found a real calling, if you will, for that. Just being able to be more nimble, and be able to express yourself and have your voice heard, and people that embraced opinions coming across the various currents within the office. And a big firm, it's very hard to do that. And I learned very quickly, working for the large firm, that as long as you maintain your little square peg in the wall, that you were doing your job, and that's all that anybody honestly really ever cared about. Innovation was kind of stifled. And so smaller firms, I think, were really fun to work within. I think you could build a real strong esprit de corps with your coworkers. Again, if you have a good chemistry, a good culture, it really works, and it's a lot of fun in addition to the work. And so, I've strived to, over time, we have a small firm now, and I hope over time it stays relatively small, and we're not going to have too many layers. And I just kind of shun the bureaucracy that I was exposed to a lot earlier in my career.
Excellent. So, wealth consulting and business valuations. Tell us a little bit more about, kind of more the specific work that y'all do with your clients.
Mm.
If I'm in the audience, and I've never really given enough thought or enough conversations to folks in your industry, tell us a little bit, simplified version of what you do, and how you help your clients.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll make this as simplified as possible. We love to work with individuals, mass affluent, high net worth, and their families. But I think I started the firm many years ago with this idea that, business owners weren't getting the help that they needed on their exit planning process and planning for life after the business. And as we all know, everyone has an endpoint, right? Whether we like it or not. And so, being a wealth manager and then seeing the aftermath of business owners and that whole cohort when they exit the business is, they suddenly realize, wait, I can't maintain the same lifestyle that I did. And I wondered, what if you could get them to that exit, and if you could obviously coach them up, right? And if and we're not a consultant and never sought to be, but we wanted to identify the anchors to value, so that if you had time to address those at the exit point, you could have a more satisfactory exit, ostensibly a higher exit price, which would help fund a lot of post-exit activities, whether it's a new business or retirement, if somebody wants to go to the lake, the ranch, or wherever. So that's how we geared the business. And that's why we do business valuation, because we want to give owners a starting point, not just a kind of like, well, I think it's worth $3 million and they have no idea why. And we wanted to put some science behind that, because average, an analysis of just kind of averages leads to average analysis, right? And so we want to be able to put some real teeth into helping owners plan for that exit. But suffice it to say, we're a very traditional financial planning and wealth management firm. We lead with financial planning before we invest a dollar. We're fully independent, and so I think that gives us that independence gives us a lot of room for objectivity. And we're not a brokerage firm, and we like to work with we like to work with our clients, and we like to work with people that like to work with us.
That's fantastic. I appreciate you kind of going through that level of detail. For the audience, I always like to just kind of take a step back for a moment and just kind of set the stage. We have the opportunity to talk with many different types of businesses, different sizes of business, different, we'll call it locations in the growth cycle of a business, right? From startup to those who've been in business for 20 years, that sort of thing. So I always like to just kind of set the stage in ask kind of a question around, call it ownership structure. Now, when I say this, I mean more, just generally speaking, sole founder, do you have business partners? Do you have outside investors? Kind of what does that look like for you and in that dynamics of the business structure?
Well, let me ask you to maybe rephrase the question a little bit. So
ownership structure of the business. Are you the only founder of the business? Do you have business partners or outside investors? Anything like that in your business?
No, I'm the sole owner.
Beautiful. Excellent. So that just kind of sets the stage, because how we go through the conversation, some of the questions here today may be different if you were owning owning a small kind of minority and having several outside investors, that sort of thing, versus being the sole founder. You may feel a much larger brunt of some of the things and the hats that owners have to wear compared to someone that has multiple business partners, things like that. That's why I like to ask the question. It just kind of sets the stage there. So when we look at your business, we've talked a little bit about who you serve, the type of work that you do. Obviously, the financial space is got a lot of different players out there. How do you all kind of stand out and differentiate yourselves compared to some of the competitors in the marketplace here?
Well, I guess I'll answer that on two fronts. For our individual clients, it really starts with financial planning, and a lot of people don't do that. We're not an asset gatherer, so we don't have some kind of a monthly quota of assets that we're trying to achieve. Like I said before, we like to work with people that like to work with us, that have issues that we can help resolve for them, and kind of clarity of vision that oftentimes people don't have because they're busy, as we are. And, these are things that oftentimes they don't think about, budgets and long-term planning, and we like to sit down with them. So I think the way that you differentiate yourself is obviously being a good listener, however cliche that might sound, but and then developing the plan and then letting that drive the investment policy, which then drives the investments as opposed to the other way around. And so, and again, and I'll switch gears and say for the business owner cohort where most of their net worth is tied up in the business, that's an area that most people in our profession, frankly, don't care about, right? Because it's not money that you can fee on, right? But it's embedded wealth. And so, and I think from that perspective, we're trying to help business owners grow that wealth while they're still in the business again, so they can have a better exit. And, and I've always viewed that the building of trust within the business owner cohort is not by, golf rounds and lunches. It's by helping them solve problems while they're in the business. And, business valuations can help identify the anchors that they can solve if they have, the time and the energy and the motivation, frankly, to want to solve those. And that's where we get great joy. And I think that's a huge differentiator. And I would submit that there are not very many people, and not very many firms, frankly, that do certified business valuation. We're members of NACVA, which is a National Association of Certified Valuators and Analysts, and we do certified reports that are all under uniform standards of professional appraisal practice. So it gives us, I think, a lot of cachet when we're talking to business owners to say, very, very likely, the issues that you're seeing are issues that we've seen before. Again, we're not a consultant, but we can help lead you to points of contact where you can get those issues resolved that then helps to increase your value over time.
Mm. I absolutely love that. And I'm just going to put a plug out there at this moment for anyone that is watching, knowing that most of the audience here is likely business owner or will own a business at some point, something like that. That understanding and knowing what the value is of the business and then starting to look at how do you increase that is so important and often overlooked. The number of business owners I've had a chance to connect with, and it's probably 80 to 90% of them have never done a business valuation. They just assume what it is. And it's very different. Yet, part of what we talk about, what we teach is, when are you going to be done with the business, and what does that look like? What does the business look like? What's the value of it? All of that kind of stuff. What do you need in order to move on to the next thing? So if you are a business owner who's listening to this, who's watching this, that has not had the opportunity to have a conversation around business valuations, make sure you connect with Eric here and start to have that conversation. It's really, really important. So, Eric, I like to, ask a few questions around marketing. We talk a little bit about, who your best, customer is, kind of who you like to work with, all that kind of stuff, which leads me into marketing. And marketing is really that area for most business owners. They often tend to kind of struggle with. Either they've got a background in marketing and they're maybe a little bit better at it, but most business owners that get into business haven't had that ability to kind of learn some marketing tactics and have to learn on the job as they go through to grow the business. So I always like to ask some questions around it. As you've kind of gone through your journey, what have you found to be kind of the most successful ways for y'all to kind of market, get your name out there in terms of the services that you provide for the business, and start to generate some initial conversations to provide value to your audience?
Sure, great question. I'd say I'll start first on the business valuation side. It's going out and being visible to the people that are generally going to be your referral partners, bankers, lawyers, family lawyers, and estate planning lawyers, to be specific, and CPAs. So some do valuations, but most do not. And then bankers, obviously SBA lenders, where transactions above $250,000 are required to have certified appraisals. And again, you talk to business owners and just say, do you have an exit plan? And we talk to a lot of. So I guess to answer that question a slightly different way is be in a kind of an area, a locus of business owners where you can talk to them individually and have one-on-one conversations, because that's where you really get to peel the layers of the onion back and find out where the pain points are on that side, on both the business valuation and the wealth management side for that matter. And it's just identifying, when people feel like they want to exit, or do they want to exit, or are they having fun in their business, and if they're not, why? And so I'd say that, from that standpoint, paying for access into certain groups that give us a lot of access therein to business owners and to high net worth individuals. And, we don't do a lot of print advertising. We're very active in our local chambers. We sponsor events for chambers, and we actually develop educational content for local chambers of commerce. But I think really the key, Tanner, is to be visible in the areas where those people are interested in, and I'd say, intrigued is not really the word for it, but in areas where you can get business owners to kind of open up a little bit, because I think that's where we can shine in terms of kind of like addressing, issues that we find in discovery, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, it does. And I want to jump on the kind of the referral partner one just for a moment, because especially for many service-based businesses like yours, like ours, referral partners and call them almost referral relationships, right? Or partner relationships. That's a really powerful marketing angle to take. I'm curious for you, what have you found to be kind of the best either qualities of a good partner relationship, or how do you develop really good referral partners for you and your business?
Well, I'd say it starts first with professionalism, and I think from our standpoint, to generate a lot of referrals, you have to be referable. And to be referable, I think you have to build connections. And I know some people are really great with digital marketing, some people with ClickFunnels and and all of that. And that's just not how I'm wired personally. That's not how our team is wired. I mean, we're built on personal relationships. And I think we've gotten better over the years in kind of determining who is a referral partner and do they refer, right? And so a lot of people will give you lip service and say, well, if I've got somebody, I'll let you know, or I'll put you on a list of 3. But I think we spend a lot of time working with our referral partners, regardless of industry, and try to get inside their head a little bit and say, well, do you refer? What are the conditions that you refer? What are the requirements that you have for a good referral partner? Because we want to make sure it's a good fit. And even though there are a lot of great networking groups, and we're not networking, we're not like B&I type people. I mean, again, we find ourselves in environments where a lot of these people live, work, and play, frankly. And, we just build the relationships. And I think you have to cultivate that too. You can't just say, hey, I'm here. Guess what? Here's my business card or whatever. I guess now they're scanning QR codes on your phone, but I'm still a little old school, admittedly. But that, you can't just, put yourself out there and expect, people to come. You have to really nurture the relationships, because I think the best referral partners are the ones that know what's in your DNA, and they can help understand, okay, that client is probably not a good fit, but that client is a super fit, for our personality, for our approach, those types of things. And that just takes time, and it takes a lot of energy, and it takes a lot of coffees, lunches, after hours, activity, but it does pay off. But you have to give it patience, and good things will come.
I love that. There's so much to be said about the actual human to human connection that sometimes can get lost, I think, in today's world. And sometimes it takes a little bit longer, and build the relationship, nurture those connections. I couldn't agree more. So I want to take a quick step back, and then we'll take a giant leap forward after this. But when we look back at kind of your journey, when you made the choice to really go into business for yourself, as opposed to just being a part of somebody else's business, and being able to kind of build your career within it, making the choice to start and have your own firm, kind of what prompted that decision to go that direction versus choosing to work for somebody else?
Well, I honestly, I've wanted to have my own firm for probably the better part of 25 years. I never, for a long time, I never really fashioned myself as like an entrepreneur, so to speak. I just felt like I had a vision. I had wonderful mentors, and in the absence of those mentors, I don't know that I would have felt qualified to do this. But a lot of it has to do with how you relate to employees, how you relate to clients. You can't just jump into it. I mean, there's some super smart people out there, right, that could manage money all day long, but probably are not adept at managing relationships or managing people, right? And so I knew, at least 25 years ago that I wanted to do this, but I knew 25 years ago that I wasn't ready. And so I think having those mentors kind of shepherded me along. And I think, they both knew that at some point I wanted to do this for myself, but I wanted to do it when I was ready, not only like mentally, but also, obviously financially and whatnot. But I knew that I could build it in a way that needed to be built. And I don't, and build it in a way where I don't feel like I'm compromising the service that we're providing to clients, because in our business, people oftentimes don't get fired for, performance, although it is important, but they more often than not, get fired because of lack of service. And so that's something that is, that we, from day one, that was very intrinsic to me, and absolutely more so over, the last several years, and including that time, that little pandemic that we went through where, the interpersonal side of things, we were, talking like this in two dimensions, and you just can't make the same connection unless you're face to face. And so anyway, maybe a little long-winded, but building the firm, I wanted to make sure that, that I was right in my head, that I felt like I could manage people and manage relationships and manage portfolios and manage growth, frankly, all in tandem without sacrificing the quality of what we're providing to our clients.
I absolutely love that. So when we look at, what comes next, so we look the next 3 to 5 years for you and growing the business and doing the amazing work that you do. What does that look like? What does the next 3 to 5 years look like for you? What are you excited for that's on the horizon? Just give us kind of a picture of what's upcoming for you in the business.
Well, I'd love to talk about this because I know from doing valuation work that very few businesses out there actually do forecasting and do budgetings and pro formas, and I love to sit and plan and kind of envision, and I'll take some personal time and I'll go out there maybe with an adult beverage, on the back porch, or maybe, go out in hill country somewhere, and I'll vision, what do we want to look like in 5 years? So your question is very apt. Obviously, we want to continue to grow the business, but as I said before, we do not want to get too big that it becomes bureaucratic and then hard to manage. And because I think clients will see that, and and clients are with us because of what's in our DNA now. And I think to preserve that, but still grow the firm smartly, is something that we want to do. And I think we've worked hard, and the old adage is you spend 20 years working on a reputation, and if you're not careful, it takes 20 minutes to to turn it the other way. But to continue to cultivate that the good name in the community, and in our reputation, in our brand. And just for the record, it wasn't my first choice to when we renamed the company Boyce and Associates, it wasn't my first choice to name it after me. But I did get a lot of feedback from people that I trust immensely that said, your name and reputation is really good, and you should absolutely name it after yourself. And so I reluctantly relented over time, and I think that's important. So I mean, we want to be good community stewards. We want to give back and pay it forward, and so we want to do events that help. The people can see, listen, they're giving back to their community, they're raising money for charity, they're active in their business community, and frankly, we want to help support other local business and bring them along.
I absolutely love that. That is so many things in there that just kind of get me excited, and I'm excited to see where the business goes for you over the next several years. Always one that just kind of hits in my brain well is the fact that, I think you said most business owners, are not doing forecasting and, performance and looking at budgeting and all of that kind of stuff. It's like, that is so true. How we look at our business, we hadn't been doing it appropriately for a while. And the night and day difference when you start implementing those things in the business is just
Mm.
amazing to see what it can actually do. The optics is truly amazing. So, Eric, we've covered a ton of ground so far in the conversation. I do want to be respectful of the time that we have here today. So I've got a couple rapid fire questions, about 4 of them here that I'd love to kind of go through. I know we probably could go fairly deep on a couple of them, but we'll keep it rapid fire, top ahead answers for these, and then we'll wrap up kind of with one final question to end out the conversation today.
Mm.
But first one here on the rapid fire is, what is your key to success?
I think if we're able to achieve client success, then we're doing our job, and then I feel successful.
Excellent. What is one piece of advice you would give other business owners?
That you spend time listening as much to how people say things as what they're actually saying, the inflection in their voice, the timbre and the conviction, and the inflection in their voice is so important, because I think there's a lot that you can learn from that.
I like that one. No, I like that a lot. Um, what's one book that you've either read most recently or are currently reading?
Let's see, good to great.
That's a good one.
Am I limited to one?
Got
Uh,
another one? Go for it. I'd
all right.
love
Well,
to share as
I
much as
have one
possible.
more. I mean, good to great is on everybody's bookshelf. So I don't think I'm blazing any new ground on that. I mean, that's just obviously it's a time-tested, treasure, but one that I'm reading right now, because we live in a polarized world, and being also an elected official, for which I'm not getting paid, anything for, but I'm doing it because I love my community. I mean, it's still, even at the local level, it's, we're all very polarized, but Ezra Klein, Why We're Polarized, is a really neat and insightful book, and I've learned a lot from it. So anyway, I offer that one up as one that is literally, I'm on the last, handful of pages before the acknowledgement. So
Excellent. That's fantastic. I will be ensuring that I put these in the description and such, so that others can find them quickly and go check them out. Kind of final rapid fire question, kind of one of my favorite ones here, just because it's kind of fun. If you had to choose only one area in your business that you could sprinkle some magic dust on and immediately improve it tomorrow, where would you put that magic dust?
wow. Yeah, and now I know why you love to answer, you love to ask that question. I would think portfolio management, honestly, because it's as much an art as it is a science. And, magic dust maybe gives us more insight, more processing power, more clairvoyance into, the signals that are in the market. And, anyway, sorry, it's a rapid fire question and not a very rapid fire answer, but thank you. The synapses finally connected after about 2 seconds, and I realized that's what my answer is.
Excellent. Well, before we wrap up on the final question today, for those that are watching, that are listening, that are very intrigued with the conversation we had, that maybe want to know more about business valuations, that want to have a conversation with y'all about the services that you provide, where can we invite them to go for more information? How can they connect with you? Where can they go to follow and check out the amazing things that y'all are doing? What's the best place or places to have people go?
Absolutely. Well, we have a website for our wealth management business. It's www.boycewealth.com. And then we also have a website for our valuation practice, which is actually a separate company. And we run it under a separate LLC. And the website for that is www.boycevaluations.com. And you can reach us at our phone at 512-522-4838, or you can reach me at eric@boycewealth.com.
Excellent. just making sure I make note of these here. So I'll make it easy for everyone that's watching. I'll put it all in the description below, so you can go click away and check it all out and make sure that you do connect with Eric. But Eric, as we wrap up here today, there's one question I always love to kind of end all of these conversations on, and that question is this: what is most inspiring to you today?
I tell you what's most inspiring to me. Uh, I spend a lot of time volunteering in the community, and as I'm getting older and losing hair on top of my head, and I grow it here because it doesn't grow anywhere else on my head anymore. But getting older, I watch that rising generation, and there's some really impressive. I call them kids, but some of them are now young adults, and my own two kids, and I look at that rising generation, and I'm very intrigued, at what our possibilities are. I mean, I feel like, hopefully, if we can be good stewards of our communities, and we can hand those off, that I feel very comforted in the rising generation.
Beautiful. Eric, I appreciate so much that you've taken the time to sit down with us today, to chat, to talk a little bit about your business and about your journey and all the things that are going along with it. So I just want to thank you for taking the time to be here with me today.
Thank you, Tanner. Really appreciate your questions and your time and the opportunity to visit. And thank you to Action Coach.
Of course.